Today on CityCast Boise. West Ada school board races have drawn unusual attention, with fresh challengers stepping forward, incumbents dodging public forums, and questions swirling about the district's transparency and values. We're looking at what this election might reveal about where the community stands. It's Monday, October 20th. I'm Lindsay Van Allen, and this is what Boise's talking about.
Lindsay, I'm so glad you're with me because I feel like you're definitely the person to talk to about this story. This is something you have been following probably for years in some ways, the West Ada School District, because, of course, you're a parent in the district. So I need to learn from you. What's going on in this race? Who's running and what zones are they running in? What's going on here?
Yeah, thank you so much for having this conversation with me because, as a parent in the West Ada School District, and then also on CityCast, we've had Sarah Inama on, we've had students from West Ada School District. It seems like this school district is constantly embroiled in controversy over the past couple of years. And I think that is coming to a head with this election. So with this election, there are two candidates who are currently serving on the school board of trustees who are up for election. And each of these candidates serve for a 4-year term. And they're the candidates in Zone 1 and in Zone 3. So we'll start with Zone 1. This is kind of Southwest Meridian, West Meridian, and the incumbent is Lori Frazier. She's the chair of the board and has been on the board since 2021. And her opponent is Dara Ezel-Pebworth. She's a social worker who attended West Ada School District as a student. She's 27 now, but when she went to school, she attended at West Ada. And so that's kind of the perspective she's bringing to this. And then in Zone 3, the incumbent is Angie Redford. She was also elected in 2021, and her opponent is Megan Brown. And Megan Brown is a certified teacher. She's currently working as a substitute teacher within West Ada School District, and she also has children in the district. So Zone 3 is kind of East Meridian, West Boise. Part of it is District 15. So if you voted in other elections and you voted for candidates in District 15, that's part of Zone 3.
Okay. And isn't there one, just really fast, I was reading, isn't there another candidate in Zone 3, Anna Marie Young? What's going on with her?
Yes, she applied to be in this election, and her platform was going to be a lot about bullying and combating bullying. And then she was going to be a candidate in Zone 3. But when she found out that Megan Brown was running, she actually withdrew because she didn't want to split the votes with Megan Brown and have Angie get reelected. So Megan Brown has adopted an anti-bullying stance in her platform in honor of her since she did drop out of the race. Now, her name will still be on the ballot, but she is not making any effort to run.
Okay, got it. So she's backed Brown in this race and is telling people not to vote for her when they see that on the ballot. Okay, gotcha. Okay, so West Ada is the largest school district in the state. It's, has a huge budget, an absolutely massive budget. And so I guess, that kind of lays out a little bit of why this race is so important. But in general, why in this particular election, why does this election feel like so high stakes or different from past years?
I think the biggest difference is when you think about school boards, honestly, you feel kind of bored, right? It should be like humdrum. Okay, they're talking about budgets. They're talking about some committees. And that has not been how it's been in West Ada for the past couple of years. The past 2 graduations, we've had students protesting the school board and trustees. We've had parents protesting because of the everyone is welcome here debacle. We've had teachers leaving the district over district decisions. We've lost fantastic teachers. We lost one of my children's favorite teachers. And so it just seems like there is a lot of uproar happening in the district. It seems like parents are not happy. It seems like teachers are not happy. It seems like students are not happy. And I've never seen a community or been in a community where so many people are so frustrated with what's happening with the school board. And it's part of everyday conversation. Like 5 years ago, I was never having a conversation about the school board with people. It happens on the regular now. That's a common point of conversation in Meridian.
Wow, that's so interesting as you point out. Yeah, I mean, these kind of elections are often ones that people don't actually show up for. I mean, I think I even read that in 2023 the school board elections had like just a little over 30% turnout, meaning 2/3 of people didn't even participate. So, yeah, we know that like interest in these usually isn't very high, and that means that the voter turnout isn't usually very, very great. But God, this matters. This is like real down to earth civic engagement and like democracy and like your tax dollars at work. These kind of things.
It's coming up on the Nextdoor app regularly.
Oh, okay.
Like
That's a good metric.
This is, I have never seen, you get the occasional like, make sure and vote, everyone. But this is like every other day. This is coming up on the Nextdoor app. So that lets me know my fellow Meridianites are thinking about this, which is what you'd want in an election. I think being the largest school district in the state, we do set the tone in a lot of ways, and we do set the standard in a lot of things. And so this is something as a community we should be taking seriously.
Yeah. So you already mentioned a little bit about one of the controversies recently, but a big flashpoint in the last year was the removal of the "Everyone is Welcome Here" sign. Teacher Sarah Inama, who, you've talked with a couple times here on the podcast, ended up leaving the district to go work at the Boise School District. How did that controversy shape this election, and kind of how are the candidates aligning themselves on that issue? Because that feels like that's like topic number 1 or 2, maybe.
Yeah, I think this is, I'm personally calling this the "Everyone is Welcome Here" election, because that is the topic that keeps coming up. And it comes up in different ways. It comes up in parents asking about transparency, and parents asking about how classrooms are being run, how the district views teachers, how much control teachers should have over their classroom. It's coming up in a lot of different ways, and a lot of people have a lot of different views on it, but it consistently is a theme here to highlight the fact that we're losing teachers. We got the nickname Worst Ada over it. Like it's really, it's shaping and coloring everything about this election. And the candidates are in 2 starkly different camps about it. We have the incumbents, Lori Frazier and Angie Redford, who have been dodging questions about it. They didn't go to a candidate forum. We'll get to that hopefully a little later in this conversation, but they haven't really answered questions about it. During the whole "Everyone is Welcome Here" debacle, the school board didn't answer questions about it. The district didn't answer questions about it. They didn't talk to the media about it outside of going on a local podcast.
But not ours, because you tried and they never came on.
Yes. No, they did not want to come on CityCast Boise. The amount of times I reached out. But the new candidates, Dara Ezel-Pebworth and Megan Brown, have both taken a strong stance that they don't think that sign is political. They don't think it should just be someone's opinion, that they believe that should be the view of the district, that all students are welcome, that sign shouldn't be controversial. Megan Brown took pictures and put them on her website, her campaign website, in the "Everyone is Welcome Here" shirt that became popular. People are wearing them all over the world. Dara Ezel-Pebworth has a whole section dedicated to that on her campaign website, talking about how she doesn't think it's political. She didn't agree that the sign should be taken down, and that, we lost really good teachers over this. So there is a stark divide in it. And I guess with this election, I'm curious to see where the community lands on that. It's something people are still talking about. So will that decide this election?
And just for listeners who are like, oh yeah, how did that "Everyone is Welcome Here" thing start? How did that controversy start again? It was a West Ada School District policy first, and then the state adapted it and took it on, and so made it a state law. So West Ada was kind of at the forefront of this, and then for example, Boise, the Boise School District has decided, even though there is a state law, they've decided not to interpret it that an "Everyone is Welcome Here" sign is not possible to have on, that there's a ban against those. So this does kind of originate, the nexus of it is the West Ada School District and the board.
Yep. I was going to say, like I said before, West Ada is setting the tone for a lot of the state. And there's a lot of rules and laws that happen in West Ada that then the state seems to adopt similar laws, and it becomes a statewide issue.
this fall, treat yourself to a trip to wine country in the heart of the Pacific Northwest. The Walla Walla Valley is home to more than 130 wineries, offering vineyard experiences and delicious wine tastings. Bonus, grape harvest is happening soon. Besides incredible wines, Walla Walla has a walkable, historic downtown core to explore. There's plenty of farm-fresh dining options from celebrated chefs to treat yourself to. Go at your own pace around town, do as much or as little as you want. And here's a thought, September is a beautiful time to take a scenic road trip to Walla Walla, just 4 hours away from Boise. Go to wallawalla.org to plan your visit today. That's wallawalla.org. Okay, so one of the incumbents that you've mentioned a lot, Angela or Angie Redford, she was recently on a local podcast, and she says that she supports HB 93, which is that law that gives state money as tax credits for private school tuition, passed in the 2025 legislature. How could that policy, that shape the, voter perception of her, real commitment to public education in West Ada? Because we're talking about someone who's saying, yeah, let's go ahead and, it's okay to use some tax dollars for private education, who's wanting to run again for a seat on a public education school board.
And I want to say before I get into this, it has been tricky to find what the incumbent's stance on different issues are because they haven't attended things like candidate forums. They haven't really talked to the media. They did submit answers to the Idaho Statesman recently, but it's been hard to find where they fall on different topics. So Angie Redford was on this local podcast. That's where I was able to find her stance on this issue. And yeah, she said she was in favor of it. And as a parent in West Ada School District, we've been trying to pass facility levies, plant levies, all kinds of school levies. There was one finally passed in 2024, a very scaled back one. But a lot of our buildings need repair. We aren't paying our teachers enough, to be frankly honest. And Idaho is consistently 50 or 51st in the nation for funding our schools. We're really at the bottom again and again and again and again. And so it is concerning for me that the public money will be used for private schools when we're already not paying our teachers enough. I wish our schools had more resources. We have schools that need repairs. And it is concerning for me that a public school trustee is in favor of public money going to private schools. Like, I want my trustees to be advocates for public schools. I really want them to be on the forefront of fighting for that money for public schools. That really feels like if they're there and they're representing me and they're representing the parents, the teachers, everyone, that their sole focus should be, how can I make this system the best for our community that it can be? Because our schools do shape our community. And so to have a trustee saying, yeah, no, I'm great with that, I think it's a good thing, makes me very concerned about her commitment level to our public schools.
Yeah, wow. So anybody else? You said it's been hard to find the incumbents, what their stances are on things. Has Lori Frazier, the incumbent in Zone 1, said anything about HB 93 or any of the challengers?
Lori hasn't said anything directly that I can find about it. When asked about it from the Idaho Statesman, she just said that West Ada has lots of schools of choice and she supports those. At the candidate forum, both Megan Brown and Dara Ezel-Pebworth said that they were against House Bill 93. Both of them heavily emphasized in several of their answers how they want to make sure that West Ada teachers are being paid competitive wages, that they want money to be used in our schools in a way that really benefits the teachers, the students, and enriches our school programs, enriches our community, and is used in the best way for students, most effectively for their education, for their experience in our schools. And they both took a pretty hard stance against House Bill 93, said that they didn't think it was good for public schools. So they both took a very hard stance against it. Angie Redford said she's in favor of it on a local podcast. And Lori Frazier, I haven't found a clear answer about where she falls.
Okay. Well, given that, yeah, it's been hard to nail down those incumbents not showing up to forums and such, not answering, some media questions and voter questions. So how has the fact that they've kind of been evasive, it seems, how has that shaped the tone of the election?
When I went to the candidate forum, something that the audience said often to Dara and Megan was thank you. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for listening to us. Thank you for answering our questions. One gentleman said, it feels so disrespectful that the incumbents aren't here and don't want to talk to us. And as a parent in the West Ada School District, through the whole everyone is welcome here sign debacle, one of the things that felt so disempowering was that it didn't feel like the board was listening. It didn't feel like anybody at the school district was listening to parents. I mean, we were having protests, students were having protests, we were emailing in, we were calling. You wouldn't get any response to your emails. They weren't taking calls. They didn't want to discuss it. They didn't want to talk about it. And that's continued through the summer and into the new school year, where it just feels like nobody wants to listen to you. And so then to be having an election and to have the incumbents not even show up to talk about how they voted or what they've done, it feels disrespectful, to be honest. Like they want our vote, but they don't want to talk to us. They think they can get our vote and they don't even have to talk to us. They can just put up a whole lot of signs, or they can just have a very slick website. I mean, I think it echoes what we've seen on the national scale, where a lot of politicians are no longer holding town halls. I mean, a lot of our state representatives are no longer holding town halls. They aren't listening to voters. And that doesn't feel very democratic to me. That doesn't feel like a good precedent to be set when I'm looking for transparency, when I'm looking for representatives who will listen to me and represent my interests.
Yeah, interesting. And we know that, incumbency in general in our democracy, from top to bottom, that matters, that, that name recognition and seeing that on the ballot matters a lot. So perhaps they are just calculating, I don't need to show up to this thing. But fair point from someone who lives in the West Ada School District and sends your kids there. Yeah, that probably would honestly be pretty frustrating. So, okay, let's talk about the challengers a little bit more. I'm curious. Megan Brown, Dara Ezell-Pebworth, what stands out about their approach so far?
The first candidate I want to talk about is Dara Ezell-Pebworth, and she emphasized a lot her role as a social worker, that she wants to listen. She talked about how she wants to make herself accessible outside of school board meetings so that, she will meet you at schools. She will, have forums. She said, I welcome you emailing me. And she said, she's like, I'm busy. So if you email me, I probably won't get back to you in 24 hours, but I will get back to you that week. And it is important to me. And I want to represent you. She said something so funny. She was like, I want to represent you so much that the rest of the board feels annoyed because I'm really standing for my constituents. And that your voice is being heard and what matters to you is being presented to the board. And so, and she talked a lot about transparency. She's like, I want voters to, or she's like, I want our decisions to be clear to voters, and I want them to feel like they have a say in what's happening. Because I will say, as a West Ada parent, it has felt like a lot of things happen and then you hear about it later, or there were like board violations or things like that, where then it comes out later and you didn't even know they were making those decisions. And so she said she really wants to focus on making sure teachers, parents, everyone, stakeholders are aware of what is happening so you aren't finding out after the fact. And then Megan Brown really emphasized that she wants to be visiting all of the schools in her zone. She said that she's met with multiple principals, multiple leaders of different schools who have said that Angie has never visited a lot of the schools in her zone. And so Megan said, how can you represent the schools in your zone if you don't even show up, if you don't talk to the teachers, to the librarians, to the principals, to the students? And so she emphasized that she will be showing up to every school. She will be finding out what their concerns are and what's going on in the schools, what they need, what support the teachers need, what support the principals need, because every school is going to be a little different. They have slightly different student populations. They have slightly different needs, different buildings that have different maintenance issues. And so she said she wants to be representing everyone. And so she is willing to do the work, going to the schools, showing up, and then taking those concerns to the board so that people feel like their voice is heard.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about money, because money in politics, even at, the hyper local level of the school board election matters. So what do we know about who's backing the incumbents in particular? And, you kind of flagged this for me. Why do you think who's backing them is important to know?
Yeah, I think you can tell a lot about a candidate and about a campaign based on their Sunshine Report. So I don't know what kind of a nerd that makes me, that I love going through Sunshine Reports. But one thing I noted with this race is that there's a huge discrepancy in the funds raised by the incumbents versus the newcomers. And so the incumbents are getting quite a bit of money for this race. And that was notable in 2021 as well, that they had quite a bit of financial backers. Now, what I'm also finding is a lot of their backers do not live in their zones, don't even live in their city. So I also do think that that's notable, that the people backing the incumbents' campaigns aren't people from Zone 1. Overwhelmingly, aren't people from Zone 3. There are a lot of similar backers. There are venture capitalists. Debbie Critchfield, the state superintendent of education, has supported Angie Redford's campaign. So there are a lot of state board people funding these campaigns. Even though Lori Fraser and Angie Redford haven't talked a lot about the Everyone is Welcome Here situation during this campaign, some of their backers are people who have been very vocal about not liking that sign in schools, saying that it was very political. And so people are giving them large amounts of money who don't want the Everyone is Welcome Here sign. So even if the candidates aren't openly talking about it, people backing them have been very vocal about that. On the other hand, when I'm looking at Megan Brown's and Dara Ezel-Pebworth's Sunshine Reports, it is a lot of people who are from their zones. Megan was showing me specifically that almost everybody, except for a few family members, are from her zone, that it's people saying that they want to be represented. And Dara Ezel-Pebworth also, it's a lot of community members. It's a lot of very small donations. Neither of them have gotten those big $1,000 donations. It seems to be people from door knocking or from the community or, local teachers and principals. So it's a lot smaller donations, but it seems to be people who are in the community. And I think that does matter. I mean, we look at that with other elections where you talk about, out of state money or, so when we have these big backers who are coming from outside the city or outside the zone, what are they hoping to get with having these candidates elected, or how do they want to influence the school board? What does that mean for them? Because giving money to candidates is a type of influence. And so I think it's important to know who is influencing candidates. Is it your community members, or is it other people who have other interests?
Well, Lindsay, thank you so much for laying out this race. It is the quintessential local election that matters in real life. So yes. I'm really glad that you laid this out. So for folks in the West Ada School District who want to cast your ballot, early voting starts today on the 20th, and of course the election's on November 4th. We'll put some links in the show notes for more information. Thanks so much, Lindsay.
Yeah, thanks so much. Everyone, get out there and vote. That's all for today here on CityCast Boise. If you didn't hear the announcement, this is the final week of the show, and I wanted to share a few last episodes that really capture what the podcast has been about. Tomorrow, we're bringing back a powerful conversation with a local pastor who's calling out Christian nationalism in Idaho. Catch you then.